In the suffocating silence of the capsule, the faint hum of the life support systems was a constant reminder of their predicament. Day after day, the three astronauts, Commander Elena Brooks, Systems Specialist Ravi Chandra, and Biologist Mia Carter, watched the same barren readings on their screens. It had been 400 days since they were sealed in the subsurface habitat, a mission meant to simulate a long-term stay on Mars. Yet, something felt off. Their journey had started with boundless optimism. The Earth-Mars Habitat Experiment, HFY, was a groundbreaking initiative, testing the psychological and physical limits of isolation in preparation for humanity's first manned mission to Mars. Buried under the Arizona desert, their habitat mimicked Martian conditions. Red dust simulated by iron-rich soil, artificial sunlight filtering through thick panels, and strict water and oxygen recycling systems. Communications with the surface were deliberately delayed to replicate Martian distances. Day 400, Elena logged into the voice recorder, her voice steady but weary. All systems operational. Crew morale stable. No anomalies to report. She hesitated before adding, "If anyone's still listening." Ravi chuckled from across the room. "If this were a horror movie, that's the line that gets us killed." Mia glanced up from her workstation, where she was analyzing soil samples. "Good thing it's not a horror movie. Or is it?" She smirked but returned to her work. Their days had settled into monotony. Tasks rotated like clockwork. Maintenance checks, experiments, exercise, and meals. Despite the routine, unease lingered. It had started subtly, a persistent static in their communications with the surface, fluctuations in the environmental readings, and a strange dimming of their artificial sunlight. Then, there were the dreams. Each of them had begun to experience vivid, almost tangible nightmares. Elena dreamt of standing on a vast plain under a sky too vast, too alien, while shadows danced on the horizon. Ravi saw flickering images of cities crumbling into dust, their spires swallowed by red storms. Mia's dreams were quieter, but no less disturbing. Whispers in an unknown language, resonating with a rhythmic pulse that felt like a heartbeat. Coincidence, Ravi had said when they first shared their dreams. Our brains are just starved for stimuli. But as the days dragged on, the coincidences piled up. The soil samples Mia analyzed began to show anomalies, traces of organic compounds that didn't match Earth's chemistry. The air felt heavier, almost electric, as if charged by an invisible force. Most unsettling of all, the static on their communication line occasionally morphed into fragmented voices, though none of them could decipher the words. It wasn't until day 405 that the first undeniable sign appeared. Elena was conducting a routine inspection of the external sensors when she noticed something peculiar. The habitat's surface cameras, meant to display the desolate Arizona landscape, showed a sky that was no longer blue. Instead, it was a muted ochre, with faint streaks of lavender clouds. "Ravi, check this out," she called, her voice laced with tension. He joined her at the monitor, his brow furrowing as he scrutinized the feed. "Glitch," he suggested, though he didn't sound convinced. Mia joined them, her expression mirroring their unease. "I'll cross-reference the atmospheric data." But the data only deepened the mystery. Oxygen levels were slightly higher, and traces of an unknown gas, one that didn't exist in Earth's atmosphere, were present. The temperature readings were also off, suggesting a climate far colder than Arizona's desert heat. By day 410, they couldn't deny it any longer. The habitat surroundings had transformed. The iron-rich soil outside the airlocks now shimmered faintly, as though laced with microscopic crystals. Strange fungi-like growths sprouted near the vents, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsating faintly in the dim light. "This doesn't make sense," Mia said, her voice trembling. "We're in Arizona. This can't happen." Elena tried to keep the team grounded. "Let's focus on gathering data. Panic won't solve anything." But Ravi's skepticism was wearing thin. What if we're not in Arizona anymore? The suggestion hung heavy in the air. None of them wanted to entertain the possibility, yet their instincts whispered otherwise. On day 415, Mia's discovery shattered their fragile sense of reality. She had been studying the fungal growths under a microscope when she noticed something extraordinary. The cells were alive and responding to stimuli. More shockingly, they seemed to pulse in synchrony with the whispers from her dreams. "It's communicating," she whispered, her voice a mix of awe and dread. "With what?" Elena asked, her tone sharp. Mia looked up, her eyes haunted. "With us." That night, they made a collective decision. They needed to investigate beyond the habitat. Suiting up in their pressurized gear, they prepared for their first step into the unknown. As the airlock cycled, Elena's heart pounded in her chest. The outer door hissed open, revealing a landscape that defied explanation. The desert was gone. In its place stretched an endless expanse of alien terrain. The ground was a deep, rich red, interspersed with luminous plants that swayed gently despite the absence of wind. Towering formations of crystal jutted into the ochre sky, refracting the light into mesmerizing patterns. "This isn't Earth," Ravi said, his voice barely audible over the comms. As they ventured further, they found remnants of structures half buried in the soil. They were organic in design, resembling coral reefs fused with metallic veins. Symbols etched into the surfaces glowed faintly, pulsing in time with the rhythmic whispers that now seemed omnipresent. "This is impossible," Elena murmured. "We would have known if we'd left Earth. Wouldn't we?" Robbie's gaze lingered on the symbols. "Maybe we didn't leave. Maybe Earth did." Their exploration led them to a cavern, its entrance framed by bioluminescent vines. Inside, they discovered a central chamber dominated by a massive, pulsating orb. It was translucent, its surface shimmering with patterns that mirrored the symbols outside. As they approached, the whispers grew louder, coalescing into a single, harmonious voice. "Welcome," it said, resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "You are the first." "First what?" Elena demanded, her fear giving way to determination. "The first to awaken," the voice replied. "Your world is not as it was. It has been reshaped, reborn." The orb revealed fragments of their reality. Earth, but altered by a cataclysmic event that had fused its essence with another dimension. The habitat's isolation had shielded them from the transformation, leaving them as anomalies in a world that was no longer theirs. "Can it be undone?" Mia asked, her voice trembling. The orb pulsed, its light dimming. "To move forward, you must first understand. The choice is yours. Remain or evolve." As the orb's light faded, the astronauts stood in silence, grappling with the magnitude of their discovery. They had set out to simulate life on another planet, only to find themselves as pioneers of a new Earth. The question now was not how to return, but whether they could embrace the unknown future awaiting them.